Welcome to TellyCast, the show where we dive deep into the world of content production and distribution and all the incredible talent shaping what we watch. For more videos featuring the movers and shakers of the content industry, just click the subscribe button below. I'm Justin Crosby, and on today's episode, I'm joined by Joshua Barnett from After Party Studios, a next generation content production company. How you doing, Josh? Good to see you.
Doing well. Back from a few days in sunny Tenerife.
That's nice.
Feeling refreshed and ready to go for the next couple of months.
Yeah,
towards the end of the year.
Good. Oh well, you've got a bit of colour. I've got a studio tan.
They're definitely helping me out.
Yeah, no, I've got studio tan after MIPCOM live streaming for a week or so. But great to have you on the show. Thanks for joining us. Now, you're a sponsor of the Digital Content Forum this week, so thank you for that. And we're going to be talking a little bit about the Digital Content Forum and previewing that a little bit later in the show. But first of all, let's talk about After Party Studios. And as I said in the intro, a next generation production and distribution company, I would say. Really interesting business. Tell us about the genesis of the business and then we can maybe get a little bit up to date as well.
Sure. Well, yeah, I think probably have to go back a step, I think, to sort of get to where we are today as After Party. It didn't happen overnight. We actually just celebrated our 8th birthday as a company, which seems absolutely mad. But I actually met two of the other founders, Rich Mansell and Calix, at a previous company. So one of the sort of UK and Europe's first original largest MCN, a multi-channel network, launched right at the kind of birth of YouTube, if you like. In fact, I was working at ITV. I'd been the TV side of things and then jumped into ITV.com at the boom of VOD, video on demand, came about, and worked within the digital team at ITV for about 6 months, and then got approached for a role from a company that was essentially bringing content rights holders onto YouTube when YouTube was first a thing. When YouTube started, it was, cats on pianos and holiday cam footage and Charlie Bit My Finger and all that stuff. Two guys, a guy called Ashley McKenzie and a guy, Richard Mansell, saw the niche, the angle to bring rights holders onto YouTube, sports federations, production companies, record labels. We worked with anyone from sort of, the FA through to Endemol and Optimum, Zodiac, managing this plethora of content on YouTube. And then we fell into the world of seeing, channels popping up original channels popping up on the platform that quickly became known as YouTubers. And we started working with this sort of new wave of channels and talent right at the early stages. People like SBTV and Colin Furze and even Callum McGinley, who's Calix. These guys had sort of 30, 40,000 subscribers on these new fast-growing channels. And we wrapped our arms around them and invited them to join the network of premium content channels that we managed. And we essentially built one of the biggest YouTuber networks in the whole of Europe, I'd say.
When you say YouTuber networks back then, what does that mean in practical terms then?
So it basically meant we had about 3,500-4,000 channels that we managed on YouTube. And that from then it was sort of optimization of the channels, sponsorships and rights management and all that kind of stuff. We built one of the biggest YouTuber networks in terms of actual talent and their channels that were part of our network that we had the right to go and kind of sell, brand opportunities against. And it was great at the time for helping people start these channels. We were helping them to get premium ad revenue whilst also layering in live stream money and sponsorship money. And then we, first forays into kind of branded content as we now know it. We were being asked from brands, can we actually pay money to have our brand kind of feature in the content somehow in a bespoke way, which we kind of, did the first, like I said, the first sort of movement in that space. So that was kind of the groundwork, if you like, and where I met, Callum, Calix and Rich Mansell. We actually built that business and sold it back in 2014. I then had a taste of the sort of talent management world working at James Grant, which is now called YMU. I headed up content partnerships there for a couple of years. And then Rich and Cal had actually started to launch After Party Studios because they met a young creative, Ben, or Callum met Ben on a shoot with KFC. They kind of gelled. Ben started working with Callum, shooting a lot of his content. He was then getting asked from some of Callum's pals, can I use your guy to film my content? And it was actually Ben that said, it feels like we should maybe start like a little production company here, like rather than me just like going to work for them freelance. if we build a production company, we can start to do these productions, these slightly higher level productions for this talent around us. Rich Mance was then, sort of on board, and the three of them started it. And then I joined almost sort of a year later once they'd started to, I guess, really drive the business forward. It felt like they had something. And even though I enjoyed my time at James Grant, I kind of felt like my time had left too early in the creator space, I think then it was the influencer space. We'd gone from YouTubers to influencers. And when the guys approached me about joining the business, I just felt like, there's such a gap in the market. No one is doing this kind of slightly higher level of production around YouTube talent for their YouTube channels. And importantly for me, they were looking to kind of push YouTube talent beyond the realms of just YouTube. And that really was showcased brilliantly in the documentary we made behind the KSI Joe Weller then Logan Paul fight. One of the reasons I was attracted to join is they were spending a lot of money making this documentary behind those fights without anywhere for it to go. So it could have just ended up in JJ's YouTube channel. But I felt like, no, that fight, that moment feels like it's going to be mega, and we should get this documentary distributed from a big player. And I had links to Sony Pictures at the time. So I came in, one of the first tasks was getting that picked up. Sony came on the journey, KSI beat up Joe Weller, called out Logan Paul, and then essentially we filmed the documentary all the way up to the first KSI Logan fight and dropped it 2 weeks out before that fight and had huge success. So from quite early on, like you could see the want and need for better content from YouTubers coming to a place like ours, but also the crossover potential with big YouTubers like KSI pushing really like massively into the mainstream. And that is the genesis, you say, of sort of how the business started and formed. And I guess the drum that we've been beating for the last sort of 8 years, with things now luckily moving slightly more sort of towards us rather than us trying to push it on other people. Yeah,
very much so. Well, fascinating story and really, really interesting business. Bring us up to date then, because you've also been involved in some other massive projects in the last year or so, in particular. So bring us up to date. What's been the recent things on your plate?
Most hot off the press that's been announced recently is our first commission with 4.0. So we had a commission with Channel 4 last year as part of the Untold strand, which was amazing, even aired on TV. But yeah, for 4.0 being the first commission with a show called Hear Me Out, hosted by Specs Gonzalez, a talent we've championed for a few years now, and bringing in, a plethora of amazing talent, some of the sort of 4.0 fam, as they say, with some new talent that you've not necessarily seen on the channel before. Really exciting for us. Just, we are big champions of 4.0, the mission they've set out. Some people kind of come along in this space and they'll try something, pick it up and put it down. 4.0 have been dedicated to the cause, and they know that to build an audience truly on YouTube, you have to be regular and bring the content the audience wants to see and really invest in the talent, which they've done and some. So it's great to now have our first under the belt. That's in the edit at the moment. We shot a couple of weeks ago. That will air kind of end of November, early December, hopefully all being well, or maybe slightly closer to Christmas. I'm really excited, and hopefully it's the start of our journey with 4.0. And then Sky, new season's kicked in, so our show Scenes is back. That's
a football show, yeah.
It's a show based around key fixtures throughout the Premier League season. What we class as like an elevated match day vlog. We didn't feel like we were changing the wheel with this style of show, but no one had seemingly done it. We got the brief last season from Sky, then wanted to hit a next gen audience with content. We took the bait, came up with this show, did really well last year, 72 million views across the series 1. So yeah, fortunately got renewed for season 2 across this season. And we're 3 eps in, and so far so good. Sky's a really big client of ours. We've worked with them closely for the last few years. And then, I'd mentioned just before we started, I feel in a privileged position to be sitting here recording a podcast with you, knowing that we've got 2 crews out on the road today, one shooting at the O2 for a Netflix WWE something. WWE has just been announced to arrive on Netflix in a big way. We're shooting with some WWE superstars at the O2 today in some really exciting content. And then we've got another crew up in Manchester filming for another Sky show called Big Night In with Ella Toone, arguably one of England's most recognisable footballers. So it kind of feels mad that sitting here with you, we've got these two projects going, whilst working with the likes of Channel 4 and Sky, and also BBC Studios. We just had a series around some of the BBC Earth Science stuff go out in the last couple of weeks. It's going to feed out over the next sort of few weeks.
So lots of sports or sports-related programming. How would you define yourself as a business then? Because you're making shows for traditional broadcasters, but you're also very, very much into, in particular, the YouTube space, both in terms of original content and also Calyx, and working with some amazing talent across who are known for YouTube. I mean, how would you define your business? I mean, I said at the top that it was, you're a next generation entertainment business. Is that right, or would you define it, in slightly narrower terms?
Christ, that's a big question. I mean, look, I think I guess with us, it's about having, sort of that creator mindset and that creator lens. That's how we approach most content, no matter what form it's in or where it's on or what platform. But we kind of, we stick to our strengths. A lot of what we do is talent first. Unsurprisingly, we're founded by one of the UK's biggest YouTubers in Cal. So a lot of what we do is talent first. But for us, we're kind of just where the audiences are, and right now that sort of digital mainstream crossover is leading a lot of people to YouTube. Again, back to the heritage we have from the previous business. We've been on YouTube since sort of day one. So I'd say a lot of it sparks from YouTube and having that creator mindset into the work we do. But in all honesty, like it's not. I don't feel we're ambiguous. I also don't really want to pin us to any one mast. I mean, to be honest, the way the world is changing and moving, again, we spoke before starting, traditional media being slightly slower on the uptake of where digital is pushing to. We're still a small, nimble, agile business that needs to move with the time. So in all honesty, I'll keep moving and shaping and molding the business into where the platforms are, where the audiences are, and we'll take the content to them.
Yeah. Well, I think we've got a sizzle for After Party Studios. Let's take a look.
Hello, friends.
Oh my God!
What was that? That's a Meunier effect.
That's what we just said.
Happy to have you. Yeah. I'm happy to be here.
What an absolute winner.
What's going on here?
Harry, you can't take this long every round, mate. We'll be all night. All right, mate. Just push the button.
So before the break, you were talking a little bit about the traditional part of the industry and starting to maybe catch up a little bit, or starting to cast its gaze towards the digital first environment. Do you think that that a lot of the industry is very late on the uptake? Well, I mean, I think they are very late on the YouTube uptake, certainly, when we've seen how YouTube's become, a key player in the living room now, particularly in the States over the last few years. How do you see the market overall, the content industry? Because I think you've still got a very clear dividing line between the traditional TV industry, and a lot of the TV industry is ignoring what's going on. It's almost like Evan Shapiro has talked about the fear of finding out, right? The fear of knowing there is a cliff in 2-3 years' time when a lot of these businesses are going to fall off it. How do you view it? Because you've really been digital first. You're a native YouTube business, but making shows for traditional businesses, and you're helping them really communicate with a younger audience. How do you see it developing over the next year or two?
Well, I think, look, firstly, we've always tried to work with and not against, sort of traditional media. Like it feels like it's becoming, at times in certain conversations, a bit us and them, and it needs to not be that. Like, it needs to be like, let's come together, let's work through it together. One thing we talked about most recently, like the amount of freelancers out of work in sort of from the traditional TV side. We get a lot of people approach us wanting to work for work with the company, which is, quite humbling, to be honest, and brings a lot of confidence to what we're doing, that we're a place that people would look to want to come to. But yeah, we need to embrace each other, work through it. What we've tried to do is never, we've tried to sort of do it, the education piece, if you like. Like I said, we've been going 8 years, knocking on those doors 8 years ago, even prior to that, to be honest, when I was at James Grant, championing kind of digital content, digital first content. It's trying to go out and just educate people on the creators from these platforms, the talent born from online that people need to embrace a lot more. It feels like we're getting there a little bit. Last year, 2 years ago, everyone said, yeah, if it's KSI or if it's Amelia de Moldenberg, we're interested. Otherwise, we're not. And you kind of go, that's two talent out of like a vast array of amazing talent on these platforms that do millions and millions of views, more views than you're doing on most of your regular slots on TV. So I think we're starting to see a bit of a change on how people are embracing online talent, which I think is key. But then, yeah, just working together, working through it, going up to different events, around the country and Europe and stuff. They're talking about it more. It's not as taboo. There's more panels talking specifically about digital content. I used to work at ITV. Like, TV's not dead. Like, I know that that's such a headline, but it's not. Like, TV's changing. I remember seeing Kevin Lygo, ITV, talk on a panel within the last year or two when ITVX launched, and they made a bit of a hash in that launch because everyone was like, what is ITVX? Is the hub still there? I don't really know. And the way that I saw Kevin Lygo talk about it was, in a few years from now, you're going to turn on your TV and you're going to have apps. That's what you're going to have. Like, in terms of the normal terrestrial TV as we know it will change. You're going to have apps, and ITVX is going to be the app you go to if you want to watch ITV content. And I really thought like they should have come out initially and talked about that as the headline of what ITVX, because it just makes so much sense. And I think that is the future that we are hurtling towards. You're going to go on and you're going to have apps on your smart TV. Like you said, 27% of adults 16-34 in the UK are watching YouTube, right? ITV 6% of that audience. Yeah. So I think that's the change. People need to be going to audiences where they want to consume content, across all the age groups, which is why, again, 4.0 have done so well building 4.0 over the last sort of 2+ years. Yeah. Because they realise that's where they've got to play to...
Well, they had the vision, right? And the confidence to know that putting long-form content, and there's still this misunderstanding that YouTube and content on digital platforms is all short form, right? There's still that, I think, belief in a lot of the TV industry, which is, it drives me a bit crazy. But
like content, you should. What I love about online digital is that you can make the content as long as the content needs to be. Yeah, we see it all the time. Whether that's a 90-second tight something that's going to really entertain someone, or a 5 minutes, or if you've got enough content in there. And we see it with scenes. Our Sky Sports show. We will shoot a load of content across the day, as you can imagine, but we're not rigid and formed to it being a 30-minute show or a 10-minute show or a 12-minute. We basically cut the content and go, do you know what? 17 minutes feels great on this episode because there's loads of content. There's no downtime. It's action packed. You don't want anyone, there's no time for people to look away because they should be engrossed in the content. So yeah, I think we need to definitely banish the thought of fitting content into time slots.
And the point I was going to go on to make was Channel 4 4.0 have realised that those audiences are not being cannibalised. It's new audiences. It's different audiences on YouTube and also on their other platforms. I mean, do you think ITV and the BBC and a lot of the traditional broadcasters have got to follow that model?
I think so. I mean, you're seeing it with BBC a bit more here and there, and I think the way that they're now refocused on digital with 3 coming back and stuff. Even some briefs that we're seeing and conversations we're having, I think they're starting to get involved in that a lot more. You saw Tom Golseven and Strongwatch having ranked came out recently. Yeah. Got a lot of time for Tom. He's championed us for years through when he was at Channel 4 Digital. So you're seeing a slight turn. I mean, ITV is the one. Again, it pains me to say it because I used to work there and my family worked there for years. Like, they just need to move quicker. They need to do something different. They're having real great success on the kind of branded content, brand funded side. You know, again, a pal, Bhavat Chandrani, sort of leads the charge on that side, and they're doing some great things. But digitally, they kind of feel nowhere. Like I don't know why they're not trying to follow suit with a 4.0 and try and strike a chord with the younger audience. Because outside of kind of Love Island and some live sport, it just doesn't feel like they're hitting a youth audience at all.
Yeah.
Like I said, 6% of all adults 16-34 right now in the UK. So they've got to definitely make a move. I was excited by the news of Zoo 55 that launched recently, but then when you kind of read a bit deeper into Zoo 55, it's just like them kind of managing their rights and launching fast channels and stuff. It doesn't feel like there was anything in there that was quite unique or...
Well, we'll see, because we've actually got an exclusive at the Digital Content Forum this Thursday.
Great.
With Zoo 55. So I'm sitting down with Graham Haig and Ruth Berry, and we're going to have an in-depth fireside to really get into the detail of Zoo 55.
Wicked. I've had a couple of chats with Graham, and great guy. Had a really good chat, a few months ago, and I look forward to, because it feels like from the conversation with him, they're trying to do a lot more in this space. I'm hoping that we can be part of that journey, to be honest.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Put a good word in for me when you're sitting fireside chatting.
Absolutely.
Cheers.
Well, talking about the Digital Content Forum, obviously it's this week.
Yes.
Only a couple of days to go. And as I mentioned at the top of the show, you're one of our sponsors. So thank you for that.
I want to thank you, actually. I've said it on LinkedIn sort of most recently, but, what you've done for the space, how you championed it. The conversation, I remember it quite clearly, a few years ago when you launched, and we were trying to come up with a little sponsorship thing for us that worked for us and yourself. And great to be involved in that event. As again, we talked about even quite recently, we pitched at the drop session. BBC Studios marched up to us to want to chat after that. We had a commission that we announced at last year's Digital Content Forum. So thanks for continuing to champion the space. And
not at all.
Putting on these events, man.
Well, I mean, it's an area that's been, I think, long overlooked by trade media and the industry as a whole. So, I find it a fascinating area, really stimulating area, exciting. Lots of young companies pushing the boundaries. There's no rules, trying different things, working with amazing talent. I mean, it's a really fascinating sector. So that's right, really why I do what I do. So let's talk about Thursday. Let's have a whistle-stop tour through what's going to be going on. So we're kicking off with Digital Doc session sponsored by Quintus Studios. We've got Yusuf Omar from Scene TV, Ben Zand from Zandland, Gerrit Kemming from Quintus Studios, and Serena Jones from the B1M as well. And that's moderated by Sam Barcroft. So that's going to set things off that's almost like a super group of documentary, right?
I like Sam in particular, man. I love that guy. I said it to him, I doorstepped him at EdTV in the summer. We've known each other for a few years, but from afar, and he's championed us massively online, which I really appreciate. But when I see him talk on panels, I guess maybe because he's built a business and exited it, he can be a bit more brash on these things. But I do love he calls it as it is, heart on his sleeve. And I do love, I think he pushes panelists that he's on to get the most. Quintus as well, Gerrit and Adam and stuff, that they're such a smart business. We've had, again, many chats with them looking at, licensing opportunities and format opportunities. And we're hopefully quite close to cooking something up. I hope so, because they're smart business, really looking at changing the game in terms of that distribution model.
Yeah, there's a mixed model, isn't it? It's really fascinating. 100%. Mixed model.
Not many people doing that.
Yeah. So we've got some exclusive digital sector research from Ampere Analysis. We've got a roundup of new formats, digital first formats from around the world with the WITs. So that's going to be something brand new for the Digital Content Forum as well. And then we've got Meta, Dan Biddle from Meta doing a keynote.
Dan's another, stalwart, been there, done it, seen it. We had a good coffee with him a couple of months ago and just got, some really good insight into what was fascinating, the shelves of the shelves of engagement across sort of your Instagram and Facebook, which he gave great insight to. It's definitely all about Reels.
Yeah.
People just make sure you're on the Reels.
Yeah. absolutely. So we'll be hearing more from Dan from the day as well. Then we've got the rest of the platforms after the networking break. Ed Lindemann from TikTok. We've got Josh Bloom from Twitch, for the first time Twitch are joining us. And we've got Lucy Luke from Snap, and Stuart Clark from Deadline Hollywood's going to be chatting with them as well. So we get the latest on the platforms. We've got Strong Watch Studios. You mentioned Tom earlier on. We've got his colleague Bryony Hopkins, and she's doing a masterclass called Making the Budgets Bang, which is how to basically shoot smart in terms of multi-platform.
I mean, this is the thing. The one thing you don't get from the TV budgets that you get in the online is really having to think on your feet with maximizing a budget. Which isn't always easy, but again, I think if you've got the right kind of freelancers and crew around you, the right talent you can lean on, you can still make content go pretty far, like you said, across multi-platform, because you're not just shooting for one format these days, one platform. You're usually trying to shoot for multiple platforms.
And then we've got Spirit Studios Matt Campion. He's going to be giving us a little bit of a case study called Outsmarting Commissioning Hell, which is a really interesting development that he's working on. And then we mentioned Zoo 55 ITV Studios. They're going to be doing a fireside. I'm going to be having a chat with them before the lunch. Then we've got Podcasts as TV, which is, we've seen that real movement towards podcasts becoming TV content. So we've got Janine Smith from Channel 4, we've got Susie Grant from Listen, Jackie Adedeji as presenter, and Jamie East from Daily Mail Group now, and ex-Holy Moly and story journalist and presenter as well. Then we've got a session called Sweating the Small Stuff. We've got Annalie Bridgestock from Jungle Creations. We've got Victor Benson from Arcade Media. He's with the Sidemen. Graham Swallow from Little Dot, and Annabelle McLeod from Love Productions. And they're going to be talking about how incremental changes and data, how utilizing data can make a real difference as you're going forward, and how to make database decisions, essentially, which is really, really key, and a kind of a new skill that digital first creators need to know, or people coming to the digital first sector need to know as well, which is slightly foreign to,
it's good,
traditional...
man. Victor is moving from head of content to manager director at Arcade. We work very closely on the Sidemen football charity match every year, or was last year, and it's coming up in early next year. But yeah, smart guy, and is really all about the detail. That team, like most big teams behind the scenes on YouTube, you're looking so closely at the analytics, like the drop-off points, the view times. It is pivotal to then help reshape and reformat the content going forward, basically.
That's almost a starting point as well as the creative, isn't it? It's about using that data and to the millisecond how you craft that. So it's all about data driven decisions. So that's going to be great to hear from them. Then we've got YouTube versus TV, frenemy or foe, sponsored by 4 Studio. Neil Price from YouTube is going to be there. So the first time YouTuber on stage. So it's brilliant to welcome them to the Digital Content Forum. And we've got Taff Makopa from Wall of Entertainment. We've got Matt Risley from 4 Studio, and also Joe Harbinson as well, who's going to be chairing that. So that's going to be a really interesting discussion. And then 2 more sessions, branded social content. You mentioned branded content, how important that is to this sector. We've got Chloe McCulloch from JD Sports, who are doing some amazing stuff on YouTube.
We've been part of that as well.
Yes.
Yeah, we've made some really fun series with them. Most recently this year, we did a series called Tucking In with the Diary Room Girls. Had a few different talent pop up in that series, which went really well. One of the sort of best performing series I think they've had on the channel this year. And as you say, they're doing some great stuff and have been doing it for a few years now. Yeah.
So it's going to be really fascinating. I'm really glad that we've got JD Sports, a really active brand in this space, a really brave brand who have got amazing channel and create original content. Luke Vernon, who's a very, really well-known actor and TikToker. We've got Joe Churchill from Channel 4 and Dominic de Turville. He's going to be chairing that one. And then finally, we've got the return of The Drop as the last session of the day. We decided to move that earlier into the main body of the show, as opposed to have that later in the evening, because I think since we first started, people's movements in and out of London's changed quite a lot, right? So we've reacted to that, and we've got Scene TV, Zandland, Strongwatch Studios, and Forks Digital are all going to be presenting 10 minutes each, and they've got to they can pitch whatever they want to the buyers in the room, which there are at least 10. There's probably going to be about a dozen, if not more, that we know of that are going to be there. And we also have a buyer's lounge, which is upstairs. So we've got 9 different companies. Delegates can pitch their projects directly to digital buyers for the first time. So it's the industry's first digital marketplace.
I'm excited. My head of originals told me I need to ask you after this. How do we need to find the insight scoop on how we connect with those buyers. There's a couple in there we haven't quite met before. So
Fantastic.
I'm looking forward to utilising that for the first time.
All right. Well, everybody that registers, they'll get sent a buyer's guide with all the contact details and all the information about each buyer and what they're looking for. So
great.
So we're hoping to stimulate a bit of business there. Joshua, thanks so much for joining us. And I know you're busy. As you said, you've got shoots going on at the O2, Manchester. We've got the Digital Content Forum coming up on Thursday. Thanks for being part of the event. Thanks for coming on the show. It's been brilliant to chat with you, and all the best with everything that's going on at After Party Studios.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me, mate.
Well, that's about it for this week's show. As always, thanks for watching. TellyCast was produced by Spirit Studios and recorded in London. Don't forget to subscribe to TellyCast on YouTube for weekly videos featuring interviews with the movers and shakers of the TV and digital content industries. Just hit the link below. If you're going to the Digital Content Forum on Thursday at the BFI South Bank in London, we'll see you there. You can still buy tickets at digitalcontentforum.com. Until next week, stay safe.